We're live.
Okay, so Zoom says we're live. Let's go ahead and go. Today is January 9th, 2020, and this is a meeting on outreach tasks. Because it is our first outreach meeting of 2020, we wanted to do sort of a higher level meeting than usual, which is just a list of to-do items where we're going to talk about year in review. So like what happened last year, and then also maybe come up through that with some ideas of things that we should be doing for outreach for the rest of this year. So let's see, we brainstormed a couple of things before I remember to turn on the video, just to cover those. Last year, we introduced some really cool features into Backdrop Core. In particular, we were all very excited about the dashboard. Also, there's some other things in your list here, Luke, that you might want to talk about. But there's some stuff like beyond the code that we did last year too that I think is pretty cool. One thing that I mentioned before the meeting was that we had our first Backdrop event that wasn't in the Bay Area. It was in Twin Cities, which is our first mini camp, and it set a really good model for other people to do similar events in other places. So I have someone working on planning one in New York, I think in March this year. So I think having that model is going to be really handy, and the fact that we're big enough that there are going to be enough people in any given place, or people willing to travel to a given place to talk about Backdrop, I think is pretty cool. I also mentioned that I went to a software developer conference specifically for nonprofits in the fall, and they had a conversation about what to do after Drupal 7. And 100% of the people who are at that meeting decided that they were not moving to Drupal 8, and 2 of them had already committed, well, 3 if you count me, in moving all of your Drupal 7 sites to Backdrop, and the other people had reviewed Backdrop already and were considering it, if not already committed. One of them liked it and was going to use it, but maybe not for everything, which makes sense. And the other person was on board but hadn't moved anything yet. So there was another guy, I don't remember what his story was, but it was really interesting that of that subset of Drupal developers who are at a nonprofit software development conference, everybody decided that Drupal was not a great fit for their nonprofits, or the nonprofits that they primarily worked for. One of them worked at a nonprofit company building nonprofit websites, which I thought was pretty cool. And he wanted to do it for his own site too. So that was also pretty telling. Not just something you give your clients, something you use yourself. So that was pretty exciting. There were, let's see, other things. I don't know, Luke, if you want to go off your list here. One really big thing I see, the first item on your list, is core self updates. I think that's also something we got in last year, which is pretty big. The fact that you don't need a developer to handle a core update anymore, you can just push a button, is pretty cool. And I think moving that closer to automatic self updates is also something that's going to be really key for our audience. We tend to have a lot of people who build a site and then maybe don't spend a bunch of money building on it forever. And so having a bunch of sites that don't have active developers sitting around can be kind of a risk for Drupal sites, because those become unupdated and then vulnerable in the future if there's security issues. But if you have administrators on that site, giving them the ability to take care of those security updates are going to keep those sites automatic, or going to keep those sites updated in the future. And if you can make it automatic, then you don't even need to have an administrator on that site taking care of it, and it'll stay safe. So I think having that sort of level of support for the people using the software is really key too.
Absolutely. Along the line of similar to the offsite, the Backdrop specific camp, didn't we add this year the nonprofit status? Or wasn't that a addition that happened this year?
I think it was last year. You mean Backdrop as being a child of the Software Freedom Conservancy?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that wasn't this year. That was last year. We officially became adopted. I don't remember. There's a blog post about it. We could go check the date, but I think it was 2018. Okay. And I think it took us a while to get all of our like stuff organized to be through them. So we might not have been like legally covered by them entirely until like January last year, but we were officially part of the system before that. So yeah, I don't know.
I think it's useful. I mean, between the focus on things that happened this year, it's too much work to go back and do that for each of the preceding years. But we shouldn't use it as we can't talk about that. Like we should let things bubble up that like from the beginning, that in case you didn't know. So I mean, what I envision is kind of a two-level thing where it's like, here's the great stuff that happened this year. And for all those that aren't paying attention, if you just know Drupal, here's the things that we have that, since the original forking, we've added, stuff like the module server.
Yeah, I like the idea. Although the list might get long, so maybe we want to be detailed about the things that happened this year, and then we have bullet points and links to articles for the rest of them, or videos.
Yeah. Like 2/3 of it is the last year, but like the last third is like the quick overview of, in case you missed it.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
So last season on Backdrop,
I think the virtual user group was pretty much a 2019 thing. We've had about 8 meetings already.
Nice.
Back to that automatic update things. I think in DrupalCon, I think Dries mentioned that they would have it ready in D8 core by the end of this year. But I'm catching up. Maybe I'm remembering another feature, but I'm pretty sure it was about automatic updates. And I'm looking now, and it sort of like was moved to contrib, and they're in phase 1. So there's modules, which is what is surprising. I see a module as well for D7. So when I heard the Dries note back in August, I think it was September, somewhere around there, I thought, damn it, like we had it almost ready, and we're stuck on, I think, digital signatures is where we're stuck at the moment. And I go, oh, they beat us to it. But, well, they didn't beat us to it, as in adding it in core, but they're pretty close, I guess, because they have more resources. So when it comes to outreach or ways to sort of like promote Backdrop, as in different features, I think this is a major one. And currently it's being stuck on reviewed by Nate. So I'm not sure what we can do to sort of like free up his time more. Having said that, my family was here during holidays, and although I thought that I was going to have time, it proved to be the opposite. So I understand that, finding time is difficult.
Also, I noticed in the list of core features, the flexible layout templates, that's something that I demonstrated that to a couple of potential site owners at the Nonprofit Software Developer Conference, and it completely blew them away. The fact that you can have that kind of control over a layout without needing a developer was just mind-boggling. They're like, oh yeah, I can move stuff around on the page. And I'm like, or you can just add a new row. And they were like, what? I was like, yeah, you go here, you need just this thing. I'm like, or you can build your own. And they were like, what? This is so cool. So I just think that's also the kind of thing that empowers the kind of people that we want to help, so like the sort of administrator site manager role. Again, instead of needing to go to a developer for that. And I think, especially in the nonprofit world, they see that as a huge money saver, where it's like, oh, we can train people on how to do this instead of needing to hire developers or agencies to produce these new things for us. So I think that's also pretty cool.
Do we have a demo of that?
I think there is a video demo.
I think Tim did one.
There's at least a really high level, simple one. I think we need more.
Okay.
Well,
But it shows the interface mainly?
Yeah, I think we did a video for that release, and it sort of quickly shows the interface and how it works. So it's not about flexible layouts, it's about new features in that version. So of which flexible layouts was one thing.
Yeah, so maybe a dedicated video might be an idea. What we can.
That would be a good idea.
Okay, great.
Do you have a release? Do you have a video for each release?
We're trying to do one.
We're trying to.
There are one for the last 2 releases, I think.
At least one. I don't remember if there were two. There might be.
I think the first one wasn't officially for that, and I was like, "Tim, this is amazing. You should do one of these for the next release." And you were like, "Okay." It might have just been another video.
That was just my reaction right now. Is like I'm not going to come down on Tim for not making the videos. Like my to-do item now is to watch the video. And but I think this is kind of would sort of make sense as it's probably too ambitious, but who knows, maybe not. Like to have as a year-end capper, and even if we miss the deadline, it's still doable. Like here's the stuff that happened in the last year. It looks like this. Like Jen, you were saying that they were they were excited to see the template builder in action. Like if they're excited, random visitors from the internet will also be excited if they can see it.
Something related that I think you might like to work on, look, is if you go to our homepage, we have a why use Backdrop CMS section, which is a big section that has sort of like small topics, I should say, with like an icon, a title, and then some text there. So a couple of years ago, I started making an effort to convert this to a view, and each individual thing would have its own node, so it would be clickable. You would click on those items, and you would get more information. And I think that the view is actually there. It's live on the site, so it's just the beginning. There is a content type for these things, I think, and a view that generates a page. It's just the idea was that I'm not sure if we have an issue to capture all that. Maybe we do in the Backdrop talk, but this is something that, for example, I'm not sure where the flexible layout fits. Maybe in the customized.
Yeah, these aren't features. They're like high level here things. But I think you're right, though, Gregory. It would be really maybe better to use that for features, and I think they might even be called features. But I was looking at the list too, going, that's not quite what we have here. But I think so that content type had something like a slideshow. I think maybe you were getting at like maybe a video would be good there too. So we could highlight like each feature in more detail.
So I think that the content type is called feature. Not I think, I see that. I think that is what it's called. So the intention was, so it supports an icon class, favicon, that Fondoso icon, blurb, screenshot, which we're not using in the description. So we can expand on that. Like we can keep them as they are, like as high level features, but within each feature, like we have the blurb, and then when people click to see we can add one that says awesome features for site builders, and then mention a few of them with links, and then if people click that, they can go into details, which would link to videos or blog articles or showcases, I guess.
Absolutely. I see you've got 15. There's 15 nodes of that content type. Where's the list presented to the public?
So if you go, we don't. Yeah, the intention was for it to replace. If you go to the front page, we have the first row with device icons, then the upgrade from Drupal 7 thing that has lists these 3 boxes, and then there's a list that says why use Backdrop CMS.
Yeah.
So this view is meant to replace that thing.
Oh, okay.
So this is a static bit there. These individual items do not link anywhere. The idea was that we want them to be sort of like people click there and expand more on what they're interested in.
I like it.
I think we.
I knew you would.
But like we have a taxonomy that's specifically dedicated to this feature thing, and I think all the features we have in there now are probably pulled off the homepage. But I think this would be better to have something like flexible layout templates in here. But I think we can designate them with a taxonomy term, like this is the homepage like bullet item thing, versus this is actually a feature that needs like a demo and whatever. But I don't know what to call the things on the homepage to create a new category.
No, there could be promoted features, or the ones that are on the homepage.
What is the title of the thing on homepage? Why use Backdrop?
Yeah, and it seems to be a, what is it?
I've heard
It's
advertised
actually a
people
node.
I've heard advertised people call them touts, Touts, as in
I think I
like
think I heard someone
touting
mention.
the advantages of something or other.
So this is actually a node as it is now. It's a static thing.
Yeah. But I think we had never actually replaced it with a view.
Yeah.
But I think there might even be a view in there.
The view is there.
Yeah. So maybe that's just a to-do item, is just to knock that out and get that, at least the homepage updated. I think we also had plans to like make it like a fancy carousel, but we don't need to do that, to just swap out the node for the view.
No.
Oh, I thought of something. I think our homepage, like the layout, is based on the node ID of that node. So this might be a little bit more complicated.
Complicated than that. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a little cleanup we can do there.
Yeah, we call it.
Well, I mean,
we call it
what's currently the body of the node would become, you know, a view
the
block.
view.
Yeah.
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 So the view is called product features.
Okay, I'm gonna put that under website updates.
So for what it's worth, my editing access doesn't include structure features. I only see content. I don't see taxonomy or blocks or views.
Sorry, what was that again?
You might just be an editor.
Yeah, I think I need more power if I'm gonna do something along that line.
Okay. Anything else we want to talk about? Cool things that happened in 2019 or previously that we want to put into this blog post?
What are our impressive sounding adoption numbers?
Oh, yeah. Let's see.
You know, numbers of developers, numbers of modules, numbers of sites.
I think we need more of those kind of metrics. We're around 100 sites in terms of usage. I've looked in the last week. It fluctuates about 100 up or down from week to week. But I think
So
1,100 has been kind of average.
Yeah. So we had this thing a few years ago where at the beginning of each meeting and then at the beginning of each outreach meeting, we would sort of like mention the statistics for people. But that was, I think, before there was a block that would mention those in the front page, site front page, and then we stopped doing it. Maybe a review of those numbers going out each year, like saying this year we had X amount of new sites created, X amount of user accounts, contributed projects created, ported, how many releases of projects, like either new releases or updates, like, yeah, things like that.
Okay.
Something comes to mind now, which might not be related, but I want to mention it before we forget it. At some point we had, I remember Alan Mells from, I don't remember the company name now. So we had people from a hosting company join us, and there was momentum there, and they had, it was my understanding that they had a 24/7 rotated team of people monitoring the hosting, and they do primarily Drupal hosting, and they were eager to contribute as well. They started, alta grade or alta grade. And then around November or somewhere around there, I've never seen them like comment, at least on Gitter. So maybe it's worth reaching out to them specifically, because there were at least 2 or 3 people, and there was a project manager, was my understanding, a project manager that would sort of like allocate time to them to do certain things. I might just
I'm a little unsure if we're talking about last year or future goals right now. In terms of future goals, I think just sort of better managing volunteers. and doing things like what Gregory's just talking about. Like people sort of come in and disappear, and I think sometimes it's valuable to reach out to people and just say, not necessarily to pressure them, but just to say, hey, what's going on? Can we help you out?
Yeah, if we can help them out with something, or if they have time to contribute. Where are we with setting up the CVCRM instance for Backdrop?
I don't know. I have to ask Jack's team.
Okay, so look, this was something that you were interested in as well, right?
Yeah. And I've actually had communication from Jack about Jack's team. Sums up of they're on it, but more specific than that, I don't have. But it's current. Like within the last week, they've been working on it. I actually want to try to establish some communication to find out if I can help, if there's roadblocks, what kind of schedules they have in mind, stuff like that. So I'll do that. I'll ask Jack to connect me with them.
Pointing out again, that's it. Yeah, I know the tech often has like batches of time available, but at other times, like there's no availability. So maybe, yeah. So the actual instance has been set up, right?
I'm not sure.
They are making it so that it gets attached to backdropcms.org.
Okay.
So that we can use all of our existing user records there. So they have a copy of the database and are working on a CivicCM install there. And after they run it a few times, we'll run it on our site. So it's not on the live site yet. We haven't deployed it. But I know they have everything they need. So it should be underway.
By the way, so Alta Grade are a hosting company, right? And there was discussions of which is another topic we need to go. We were trying Zulip for the community for moving either as a fallback or replacing Gitter. And currently we host it in a platform that sort of like sleeps for 8 hours a day. Is it, Tim, or something? So maybe if we reach out to them, they would be willing to sort of like offer hosting for that thing, and then in return we can sort of like add them to our sponsor thank yous, so they can get some.
I think I saw an email already going out to them about that because they have a special open source project plan thing. So I haven't seen a response, but it might. I was copied on the email out, but it might not have been copied on the email back. So
you mean as in replacing even the nodes where we run?
Oh no, I was thinking about the
just this
or Zulip getting it.
Okay.
That's already been approved. So
it was approved.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have an official open source account, according to Peter. That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Oh, I thought you were referring to Alta Grade now, or Alta Grade.
Oh no.
But you were referring to Zulip. Okay, yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah, we have an open source account. Yeah. So it was one of the things was that we could replace the logo at the top, and now that's happened. So instead of seeing Zulip when you log in, you see the Backdrop logo now. And this is also related to Aprits. Let me find. I think it was on Gitter. So one of the things that one of the other people that have reached out and were interested in supporting Backdrop was Doxal, which is a local development tool. So they've updated the images that they had for Backdrop, and now that we're going to have a new release, I might help them update again. But the intention was that we would add them to the Try Backdrop page, along with Lando and the rest of them, and that has not happened. So as far as I recall, so that's something to be done as well. Let me see. Yeah, they were to be added to the more ways to try page. So there were plans then to also convert this page to something like an accordion or something. Were you working on that? Did you look at that at any point? Or I know there was an issue, a ticket for it. I mean, an issue, yeah.
I don't remember.
Last that I remember it was that I worked on converting a few of the logos there to have transparent backgrounds, and that was the last I remember. But this is as simple as adding a node, right? This is a view.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
we have to add a node, and then we need, I think what I've been doing with the other ones is sort of sending it to the people at the project and being like, this is where we're going to put our website. Is it cool? And then they'll either be like, yes or no, or they'll be like, can you please use our real information? Like, I just made this up. Is this real? And they're like, no. Yeah. And then
Okay.
I think as soon as the node's published, it'll appear. I think anyone can create the node, but it gets moderated. So it would need an administrator to approve it. But
okay, cool.
yeah, I don't think I was working on it. We're talking about it.
So we have a supporters page where people register and they have the logos and set on. But I'm sure that we had there's no filtering in that list, and I think we had sort of like a available for hire for individuals.
It's under services in the sidebar. There's a contractors list for people, and then there's an organizations node as well that appears there.
So in the sidebar, the resources, yes.
So the sidebar is just a user profile. If you've checked the box that says I'm available for hire, it'll show your profile there. And then there's a different node for organization than for supporter.
I'm not seeing it. Can you just mention again where was it? So the sidebar has latest books at the moment, like a front page sidebar. I mean,
no. Under support, yeah. There's a service providers section.
Okay, yes, I see it. Yeah, thanks. And do we have a separate one for hosting companies?
No, but you can filter this by hosting areas of expertise, and you'll get a list of all.
Okay.
We could do individual landing pages if we thought that was better, or like blocks or something, or like hosting providers, developer agencies or whatever, if we wanted to highlight those. When I first built this, I was just like, bucket for everything. But this might not be, now that we have so many people here, this might not be the best way to do this anymore.
Yeah, because I find the fact that we have a list of services being provided useful if people want to drill down to that, but certain things of these are sort of like the most prominent ones, like development, hosting, and I guess training, things like that.
Yeah.
I would love if training was prominent as well. Like training people sort of like helps promote features. Okay.
So we started this meeting with the idea that it might be good to spend some time reflecting on last year or setting goals or something. I feel like that was a good idea, but it didn't, I don't know. To me, it didn't really happen. We just had a random chat about a bunch of different things. And I'm just bringing that up. Well, and we're kind of at the end of our time for this week. So I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm wondering if that's still a valuable goal that we should come back to, or if we just, that was our chance.
No, I mean, I think what I was getting at is, should we set up a dedicated meeting specifically for that? It didn't have to be today's meeting because we ended up talking about like year in review stuff. But I don't know, because it's the beginning of 2020, it might be good to have like maybe a dedicated meeting and we can work on an agenda ahead of time. That's like, let's talk about these like 5 things or whatever, rather than coming into this one and being like, oh, our agenda isn't super relevant. Let's come up with something else. That might be good too. So do you want to maybe now decide we'll do that at the next meeting? Okay.
Besides live meetings, I mean, about half the things we talked about are appropriate for the backdrop cms.org issue queue. The half that aren't suitable for that, is there a place to
so we have been tracking
like
all
meatware issues or
marketing stuff in that queue also, and there's just a tag in it that says like outreach or marketing or something.
Okay.
So just because we don't have any good place to do that, it's all going into the same queue.
Which makes it a good place to do that. All right.
But I just like to endorse, I think if we have a dedicated meeting in advance, and I think we could open up ask some questions in the issue queue, the backdrop.cms issue queue beforehand.
Yeah.
People that can't be at the meeting can provide some input. So we could seed that with some of what we talked about today.
That's great.
That would be helpful. So I think that not next week, but the 2 weeks, in 3 weeks is when we were going to have the design one.
Okay.
But so there would be 2 weeks from now would be the outreach meeting before that. And 5 weeks from now would be the outreach meeting after that. I think either one of those would be suitable for.
Okay. Let's do the one before, because I feel like I would love to get this going soon. And because with the release coming, I think it would be good to have like, we're going to have an announcement soon about the release. Is there anything we need to change about the way we do that? So having that ahead of time would be good.
It doesn't have to be during the regular Thursday things. It could be like over the weekend or on a Monday, because it would be a dedicated meeting. So we can decide. I mean, the usual suspects usually is just more or less us, especially for the outreach meeting. If we can decide on a rough sort of like tentative date and time now, that would be great.
Is there a reason to do it at a different time? You're right, we could. I'm just not sure what the argument for doing it is. Do you think we get more people or what?
Yeah. No, the argument would be so that it doesn't bleed into this meeting, the outreach, because this will be a specific goal.
Yeah.
Getting out the newsletter and what should be in it. And the 2 sections would be what was done during this year and what are the goals for next year. So it will be specific to that. And having to wait for the next outreach meeting means 2 weeks from now, right?
Yeah. And also it puts it after the birthday. I wanted to hijack a moment of time. The birthday is next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Are there, like, have we missed it? Is there anything that we're going to do to commemorate?
I mean, I think between now and the birthday, in terms of outreach, we need to do a lot of, I don't know, posting things. Like we have a forum post, we need to add comments. We have a eating event. We could post on Twitter or whatever. We could do outreach to like local user groups or something like that if we wanted to. But the birthday itself should really just be like a, well, I mean, you could do whatever you want in your area, but we're going to do here sort of like a social celebration sort of thing where we could like have computers and demonstrate Backdrop if anyone wants to see it. But last year was basically sort of like a good job, guys, kind of event. And I thought that kind of worked pretty well. So promoting that would be good. But I think in terms of what we need to do for the rest of the year, that needs to come before the newsletter goes out, which will be after the next outreach meeting. So I think that timing is okay. I don't know if you guys have different thoughts about what we need to do.
So it seems to me that we might need two newsletters. One would be Happy New Year, guys. We're back from holidays. There's the new release coming up, and our birthday as well. And then after the birthday, we'd probably have photos from other people and say, "Yay, the birthday happened. The release came out. So here are some photos from the birthday and a blog article about the parties that were organized. And here are the new features." But we can do a single one. But if we do a single one, we need to decide if it's going to be before or after the release, which
I
means
was planning on one after the release. So I
yeah,
think
after.
if we want to do one before, we need to take a move on that. And
Yeah, the one now doesn't need, like, it could be an article, a blog article, I guess. I'm not sure if Tim or Luke, you have some time to just say, hey guys, we're planning just the simple thing that we've done last year. The birthday party is coming up and some instructions. Do we have anything like that fresh?
yeah, we could take last year's and update it.
I
Yes.
think that's been out for 2 weeks already. I did a
Okay.
post about the birthday party like 2 weeks ago.
A newsletter.
No, a blog post.
We use the blog post though to make a newsletter.
Yeah, that's what it said. Yeah, or a newsletter that points to the blog post in case you missed it. It's only 5 days left. Let us know if you need help with organizing something, things like that.
Okay. I think that sounds good. I'm going to add that to my to-do list for this week. And Tim, I don't know if you want access to this new email system, but I'll see if I can add you while I'm in there anyway, just so that I'm not the only one with the keys.
Okay.
Sorry, nominating you to do it. Okay.
Yeah, so this newsletter that can go out can serve to communicate quickly the fact that the birthday is coming up and that the new release is coming out, and that there's a pre-release that is already out there that people could help us with testing. Right?
Okay.
Is there anything quickly that you guys can think of that should go in that newsletter? I think that's pretty much enough.
Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this meeting and get started on the weekly developer meetings. We're already a little bit over time.
Yep.
But have any more ideas, bring them to the developer meeting.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right.